Hey, it's John and Mike again from brew-juice.com. So it's summertime and we are sweating it out in Studio A. Studio A does not stand for AC, I can tell you that much right now.
Agreed.
But hey, it's summertime. Some of the best beers to be drinking, aside from wheat beers. I brew a lot of wheat beers. I love my wheat beers. But is a good lager. So if you're brewing lagers right now, that's too bad. You should have been brewing them several months ago to be drinking them right now. But John's been doing some lager brewing. He just brewed up a Pilsner, right?
Yeah, I did.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, we talked about the Pilsner, yes. You know, diacetyl rest, I think there was one time I actually felt like I had to do one because I took a sample out of one of the first lagers I made, and it was a butter bomb. And I said, okay, well, I need to have this clean up. And really, it's if you have the refrigerator set up, which you probably need to do a true lager style, you just take the fermenter out of refrigeration. I guess you could dial up your temperature control to 10 degrees higher than your fermentation temperature and then let that sit for a few days, a couple days. I think like 48 hours is a good amount of time just to get the yeast back into suspension, get them awake again, and to really start working on some of those byproducts that will, you know, have, what was it, so that diacetyl will be in your beer. It's basically just cleaning up what they had made earlier on in the fermentation. But the thing is, nowadays I've been starting my fermentations cold, where before I'd get them as cold as I could by chilling the wort and then pitching and then sort of having it chill in the fridge.
What's cold? What temperature is cold to start?
To me, 44, 46, but, you know, and then letting it slowly rise to 50. Because I think all those byproducts that start when the yeast start just getting acclimated to the new environment are muted rather than the other way around, where you're starting up high, meaning around 60 degrees, and coming down to 50 degrees.
Let me ask you this: do you, the yeast that you pitch at that temperature, do you pre-chill your yeast to that temperature?
Yep. Well, yeah. Now I do. Now I do. So my starters and the wort start off at the same temperature. So now it's just, I've gotten to a point where I boil, I chill as low as I can, and then I just stick everything in the fridge, wait until everything's at the same temperature. The next step I'm going to start doing is actually racking from that vessel into another vessel to get off it all the
So getting off the break. Which
and then pitch my yeast into that second vessel.
What do you think that'll do for you?
Clarifying, you know, get things even more clear as they're supposed to be, especially these light lagers that I'm trying to tackle. I mean, this Pilsner, I'm really hoping, you know, clears. It was clear going into the fermenter after the boil and such, but you know, now that I have the yeast in there, it's kind of hard to tell, and I don't know what's going to happen in terms of clarification after the beer's done. So. You don't even have to do these things. I mean, I didn't even taste my wort this time around. I did take a measurement to see where I was in terms of fermentation, and I guess the rule of thumb is once you're down to 2/3 of the way to your final gravity, pull it out of the fridge, set it somewhere warm, 10 degrees over what your fermentation temperature is, and then just let it go for a couple days, and then you should be able to rack, or actually take another reading, make sure you've hit your final gravity, and then you can rack into a secondary container and let that lager at, you know, just above freezing temperatures for as long as you want, but usually about 6 weeks or so.
Do you bottle at that point? When do you bottle after you're logging? Because I don't bottle anymore, so
I bottle after that, and so usually what I do is I bring it up to room temperature right before I bottle. And then I bottle, and then I stick it somewhere really warm, and when I say warm, 72 degrees Fahrenheit at least, so that I can start carbonating as fast as possible. And I usually just, after I found that I've got to a carbonation level where I want it to be, I stick it back in the fridge and let it, you know, condition out even more.
Yeah.
So I think the one issue I had with this particular rest was finding a place that was not, you know, above 75 degrees in my house, because as you can tell, Studio A is not for air conditioning, and it's warm. And you know, I checked the temperature on the side of my carboy at the end of day 2, and it was up to 72 degrees, 73 degrees. Thankfully, everything I read online said that's okay. It's probably not going to affect the flavor of my beer because I've done the majority of the fermentation at cold temps, but you never know, you know. And you know, I always try to stay within that 10-degree route of where you started in terms of fermentation.
Well, certainly a big healthy pitch of yeast in the beginning. Nice healthy yeast, happy yeast, they'll be able to take that and not put out anything weird as they go up there.
I mean, it was active. Again, I think we're dealing with another blow off of the stopper, not coming off, but like yeast coming around the edges of the stopper. I got to figure out a different solution than just like an airlock at this point, you know. But so again, from everything I've read, you can do a diacetyl rest. You don't have to do a diacetyl rest if you feel like you don't have to. I don't think it hurts either way, but if you feel like, you know, you're like me and you just want to be secure in your brewing, take those 2 days out at the end of the fermentation, making sure that you've gotten your gravity down to at least 2/3 of the way to go to your final gravity, and then let it happen. Just let it happen.
Certainly,
bring it up to room temperature.
certainly raising it up at the end can't hurt anything. It just makes those yeasts more active, and if anything, even if you don't have diacetyl, it'll help drive you down to final gravity.
I'm hoping.
Right? Really dry it out.
Really want to dry it out. Yeah.
That's good. So, cool.
That's
all right.
diacetyl resting.
Diacetyl rest.
Yep.
So from John and Mike, brew-juice.com, brew on.
No butter bombs. No butter bombs. That's what I said. Brew on.